Before we start this podcast, I want to definitely remind you of a sponsor for Fresh of the Word, 20 by 20 Apparel. Founded in 2015, 20 by 20 Apparel brings original tributes to pro wrestling's classic arenas, moments, and events. They look to spotlight the bloopers, bleeps, and body slams along with the biggest, smallest, strangest, and strongest. In the world of wrestling where there's hundreds of shirts, promotions, flyers, social media accounts, and ads, don't get lost in the sea of parody shirts and display fonts. They can provide professional graphic design services at a reasonable price. 20 by 20 also hand screen prints all the tees in-house. So if you'd like to discuss a possible run of tees, posters, koozies, foam fingers, or even Zubaz, then drop them a line at 20by20apparel.com. That's the number 20x, the number 20apparel.com. And also check out their enamel pin line. It's super cool.
Fresh is the word.
I'm Jim Duggan, got long wood for plenty hoes. I keep it fresher than fresh, but you already know. You suckers bummy, I'm money, I got a ton of flows. My weed loud like a motherfucking thunder roll. Your shit quiet like you ballin' on a budget though. We see your kicks and we laugh and yellin' what are those. You see me shining like a suit on puffy. You know my grindin' shit is too strong, buddy. That's why the dude call money. I be stuntin' like it's nothing at all. Cause it's nothing to me, it's probably something to y'all. Trying to smoke like me, then come and fuck with your dog. Got a closet full of kicks, you can't cop it tomorrow. And I'm fresher than the freshest, you can tell it's in my essence. Bitch, you see the way I'm rapping, yes I do this shit to death. I tell I'm running out of breath, I tell somebody cut a check. But either way you know it's fresh, and either way you know it's fresh. Fresh, we fresh. Fresh, 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 goddammit, we fresh. Fresh, fresh, goddammit, we so damn fresh.
Welcome to the Fresh is the Word podcast. I'm your host, Kelly K. Fresh Frazier, and this is episode 185. My guest for this episode is Jackie Von Spanks, a pinup girl and an illustrator. Her work is based on mid-century and pinup illustrations, which she interprets into her favorite characters from movies, TVs, comics, horror, sci-fi, and fantasy culture. Recently, she launched the Selling for Introverts show on YouTube, helping introverted artists get out of their bubble and into the art world. So, without further ado, let's get into the interview with. Yeah, I've been checking out your artwork online. I've been following you since that episode with Leanna, and I really like your style. I like your mix of nerdy horror stuff and pin-up stuff and everything. So it's
I like it all.
Yeah.
That's my problem.
When cause I was just reading a little bit about you on your website, and you went to the Fashion Institute of Technology. Then you were also with at the Ringling College of Art and Design. Sort of, how do those sort of those two things sort of mesh together, and how did that sort of come together with the things that you're interested in?
Well, so FIT actually has a full art program, which a lot of people don't know about. I actually went for illustration there.
Okay.
I had the way that they used to do the program. They don't do it it's not structured anymore like this, but they would actually have half of the program for the associate's degree would be fashion illustration. So you would get to experiment to see if you like fashion illustration or you were more interested in general illustration, which generally, just general illustration. And I liked both. I've always been super into fashion. My mom actually went to FIT too. So it's always been a huge part of my life, like just clothing and like aesthetics and textiles, like always been there. And Ringling, I switched schools because of the program. FIT is more traditionally based, so had I stayed there for a bachelor's degree, I would have been focusing on realistic oil painting. But Ringling focuses more heavily on digital program. So in my bachelor's degree, I was focusing on digital work versus traditional work.
Oh, okay, nice. When just sort of looking at a lot of the things that you've done, I see the types of things that you are really into. How do you feel like when you're going into making any of the artwork that you want to make, what's sort of your mind state about what you want to do, and what are like some of your biggest influences?
So just throw out Mary Blair is probably my biggest influence as a painter. That and like I've it goes everywhere. I'm influenced by everything. I love Frank Frazetta. I love Alphonse Mucha, Beardsley. I'm influenced by different time period artists. I think that's my biggest thing is I really often don't like contemporary art or contemporary illustration. I prefer older artwork and aesthetics from like printmaking and just paintings and oil paintings. And when I graduated school, I wasn't a painter. But the older I got, the more connected I got to painting, and I discovered that I am a painter, and I just want to express my love for all the things I was into as a child, and now also, like, I still love Star Wars, still love The Dark Crystal, still love horror movies. I watched the trailer for Halloween, and the new Halloween, and my head was exploding like 3 seconds ago for the Skype call, because I saw John Carpenter posted the new movies, and I was like, oh, new Halloween, I can't. Because it's really interesting because I have such a different style and I wouldn't say I have a set style because I think it's really naive to expect an artist to draw the same way all the time.
Right.
I think the piece of artwork should really reflect like what you're trying to convey. So if I felt like drawing a little bit differently on a certain piece, I would, because I think artists should be multifaceted. And if you draw the same way all the time, you're never going to learn or really grow as an artist. Because if you look at all the amazing painters, they never painted the same thing or the same way through their whole lives. It's always evolving, always changing,
Right.
always trying something new. And I think that's an amazing part of art, is that you don't have to do the same thing all the time.
When I look at your, all the things that you have posted online, I see like there's a mixture of like humor and sexiness in a lot of it. How important is it to sort of like not take yourself seriously and have this like funness in everything that you do?
I think it's because I went to this is a perfect story to explain it. When I started going to Ringling, me and my mom would joke that I'm going to clown college. Ringling Clown College of Art and Design. Everyone at Ringling in the administration department would be like, that's not funny. That's not funny. You shouldn't joke about that. And I'm like, what the John and Mabel Ringling, the Ringling family founded this college. It's founded by the circus. Why can't you just admit it that it's a clown college? So I've always had a weird sort of sick sense of humor. Also, coming back to the horror movies, I watched a lot of trauma growing up, so I have a very sick sense of humor, and I also love the campiness and the kitschiness and the over-the-topness, and I love camp. I don't think I would ever live my life without having, like, camp and B-horror and, like, that B-comedy in my life, because it's so over-the-top. It's just fantastic.
Speaking of camp, like that was the theme of the Met Gala this year. What'd you think about that?
I really didn't look at it because I don't care. I don't care about the Met Gala because I can never afford to go, and it's all about how much money you have.
Right.
You'll more likely find me at like an underground wrestling match.
Oh yeah, wrestling. I'm a big wrestling fan. Do you go to a lot of the like indie wrestling shows and stuff?
Yeah, actually, we have one coming up. Murder on the Bayou 2. Casanova Valentine, another death match, and it's kind of now that we've recently moved to New Orleans, so just trying to find roots and finding things that we like and enjoy in the city is interesting.
Okay.
So I really haven't found a lot of independent matches. I found a bunch out in Baton Rouge, but that's an hour away.
Right,
driving.
right.
So eventually, but I do love the independent matches. They're a lot more fun than I like WWE, but it's just too kid friendly.
Right.
I think that they should just make. They have the service. I think that they should make one adult program that's like 18 and up.
Oh.
For people that enjoy ECW and all the shit from like the 2000s and 90s. Give adults something that's not kid friendly.
Right. I think
that would bring the fans back.
I think they're starting to touch on a little bit more adult oriented stuff. Now, past couple of weeks, there's been, more uses of the word like bitch and bastard and stuff like that. So, I don't know.
I feel like, I meet so many wrestling fans that are like, oh, I just don't like what it is now. And I think that if they specifically made an adult program, like for adults, not for kids, super violent, because I feel like that's what a lot of wrestling fans like, which is horrible to say, but that realness, oh, this is freaking real, even though I'm not admitting that people don't get hurt when they're performing the moves, but it's all pre-scripted.
Right, and it's a lot of jabber jawing and blah, 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 but...
Oh, there's a contract signing today.
Oh, yeah, we know how that's going to end. Have you seen... Have you checked out any of the AEW pay-per-views?
I haven't.
Oh, those have been really good.
Yeah, I mean, we really need to get we need to get back on watching New Japan.
Oh yeah,
New Japan, it's great.
We're in the middle of the G1 climax right now, so.
I know. I need to get all updated and pay for that, but
yeah, that's the G1 climax. So that's like for a New Japan fan, even for a New Japan fan, you're like, this is the hardest time of the year to keep up.
Yeah.
So, why did you make the move to New Orleans? And have you found anything cool down there thus far to like sink your teeth in?
So the move was really to escape the prices of Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Rent is getting really high. The price to live is really high. And for an artist, it's not really that friendly unless your partner or your roommates are paying a majority of the rent. They raised their rent to over $17,000 for a 2-bedroom, which is still a good price in Brooklyn, believe it or not. Like, that's cheap for Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Which is amazing. But the move, I've always loved New Orleans. I've been coming here for years now.
Okay.
And it was just a change of pace. It's a really friendly it's an art friendly community, for one thing. They have, I believe this is correct, but don't quote me on it. They passed some laws making it a right to work state. And a right to work state says you don't need to be in a union or anything to work, but I also believe it took away the permits you needed for selling in the French Quarter, which the French Quarter is renowned for artists to set up and sell their paintings of the city for tourists.
Okay. And
I can do that now because I love this city, and who's to say you won't see some crawfish paintings from me, like drinking Bloody Marys, partying.
Right.
Or maybe some big booty hoes celebrating Mardi Gras. Still sexy, still up my alley, but it fits the city.
Right. What do you love about New Orleans?
I've never been anywhere that has an energy like this city. It's just so old, and there's really few places you can go in the country that are like it. It doesn't feel like anywhere else. Everyone is really kind here. Though the city has its problems like any city, I think it's the gem of the United States. I think if you haven't been to New Orleans, you should stop what you're doing and plan a trip because it's such a beautiful place. nowhere else in the country has freelance insurance for jazz musicians. They can literally get insurance and play freelance jazz.
Oh,
Like,
nice.
where else in the country has that? Insurance for musicians? No, nowhere else. I think there's a lot of amazing things about this city that the rest of the country could really benefit off of, like programs that actually support music and the arts, which it's slowly returning, but I think there's a huge gap between, digital art and traditional artists that's not being met.
Right. Why do you think that is? That there's that gap.
Digital is quick, digital is cheap. I mean, I have lots of people that ask me for original paintings, and then they find out how much they are, and they're like, well, can you do a $20 sketch on your computer? I'm like, no. That devalues the price of my art. I would never do that. And though I commend artists for doing them to doing the quick sketches for money, I think it really puts a damper on people that put a lot of time and energy into art when they sell themselves for like $20 for a sketch.
How important is it just in general for artists to value their work like that?
I think it's extremely important, and it's really hard because a lot of people are like, oh, you're selling this for so-and-so, that's not worth it. But who are you to say what the true value of the work is? You don't know the time, the energy put into it, the emotional energy, and just like the cost of materials. Like some paint for a tiny 1 milliliter tube of paint could be like over $10. Like,
Right.
It's expensive. It's expensive to be an artist. So I think not losing faith in what you do, but also learning how to appropriately sell your work. Like for originals, for instance, I've come to a place where I can budget my original paintings in a certain price range. So I can tell people, well, if you're looking for something original in this price range, I have it, versus if you want something huge and elaborate, there's in a more expensive price range. But I think it's really learning how to sell to your audience, because everyone's buyers are different.
How are you able to sort of get to know your audience, sort of establish those sort of guidelines in your mind about how you're going to value your artwork?
I think it's a lot of trial and error, and I think meeting people in person. I then did a lot of horror movie conventions, and I do car shows and rockabilly events, and by actually meeting people and talking to them, you can really get to know them a lot better than you can online. Though I'm not denying the internet hasn't opened up doors for people that do have problems going out to events and meeting people, or if you're located far away. Like, I've sent original artwork all the way over to Germany before, and I wouldn't have been able to do that if it wasn't for Instagram.
Right. When you're at these events, you just mentioned just sort of like a wide array of these events that you go to. What sort of conversations are you having with people to get to know your audience?
Well, I normally talk about similar interests. A lot of the time, conversations come up because they are intrigued by a piece of artwork, or they connect with it, or they're just a general fan. And sometimes I see someone, I'm like, I like your shirt. Come talk to me if I'm bored. Sometimes it's as easy as that. It's just like striking up a conversation. Yeah.
Maybe I just wasn't really paying attention, in previous years or whatnot. But, you're a part of the pinup culture also. That's a big part of you. And it seems like that is becoming more and more popular, it seems, like these days. Is that a fair assessment to say?
I honestly would assume that, but that goes with any sort of fandom or culture. I think with the internet, we're able to connect and find people a lot easier. We're able to find clothing, music. Like, think about early 2000s, how hard it was to find like a CD of a band you wanted, or a underground movie.
Right.
Like, the internet has changed everything, and it's allowed people to connect and really get into their fandoms way more than we have been in the past.
What do you feel like is the place for the pinup culture in 2019? Because when I see a lot of this, I see a lot of empowerment. I see these women using it to get across some sort of a message. What do you see as the place for the pinup culture these days?
I think it should be a part of everyone's lives, um, if you're into it. But the main message about it is we're all beautiful. We are who we are, and there's no discrimination. I think a lot of the fashion world has influenced very young, impressionable girls to think very, very shallow of themselves.
Yeah.
All about how skinny you are or what your weight is, and that has nothing to do. Pinup culture is about being comfortable with who you are in your own skin and just looking fabulous. And I think that a lot of people would benefit from doing a pinup photo shoot for the first time. It's very empowering. You see yourself in a different light, and you just feel wonderful when you put on those stockings with the garters and your high heels. It's just amazing.
Yeah, I always see, women of different sizes and looks and curls and of different colors. Whenever I see a group of pinup models together, it's always a diverse group of people. So it's like, how important is it to be able to really show that off to people?
I I think it's important to show it off, but at the same time, it shouldn't be shown off. It should come naturally.
Yeah.
If you love something, you should be able to share it with other people. It shouldn't matter what their background is, what their heritage is, what the color of their skin is. Like, if everyone loves something and they share a common interest, we should just welcome everyone with open arms.
The stuff that you do in regards to the pinup culture, is there anything specific that you like to speak out about when you sort of have this platform, when you sort of have, you know, people paying attention to you? Is there anything that you like to speak out about specifically?
I personally like to speak out about mental health and how it really does affect so many of us. There's an awesome group of women out of New Jersey called Pinups for Mental Health Awareness, and
Yeah.
they are all about sharing the message that we are a community of love and we care about each other, and just really spreading that message that it's okay to have your flaws. Like, we're here to support one another, so we should be able to talk about it.
Yeah, yeah, I've heard of that group. I think my friend Katie is a part of that.
Oh, Katie, lol. Everyone knows Katie. I go to concerts and they're like, "Do you know Katie?" And I'm like, "How does this keep happening?" Everyone knows Katie.
Yes, yes, yes.
She's fantastic. Everyone should know her. But the other girls in the group, they really are spreading an awesome message, because there is a lot of cattiness in the pinup community that
Okay.
is deeply rooted in the past, which I think a lot of girls are trying to push away out of our community now in the future.
What you know? What do what are you doing to sort of get rid of that cattiness? Like, what do you feel like anybody that is entering like the pinup world should should do to sort of be a a civil part of that sort of fandom?
I think it's as simple as being yourself, loving yourself, and being true to who you are. And there will always be haters and people that are nasty, but as long as you stick firm with your guns and you stay true to who you are, you'll meet the right people, and you'll meet amazing women and men. You'll meet everyone in the community that you want to, but I think it just really depends, just being true to who you are and expressing yourself. Um, uh, I've had my bumps with women where I've been really upset about it, and I wish it didn't happen. And reaching out to them and apologizing or speaking to them about it really helps in to smooth things out, because not everyone's gonna get along,
Right.
And that's the truth with life. You're not going to get along with everyone. Not everyone gets along, but just letting them know that you don't have a problem with them, that you love them and you support them for what they do. I think that's what's important.
How, with all the the crazy stuff like going on in our country or just around the world in regards to trying to police women's bodies, and there's all sorts of laws tied to regulating people in the LGBTQ community. How important is it to have fandoms like that in this world?
I think it's extremely important. And that it not just in the pinup community, but I think in any fandom, I think we should be more open and welcoming to everyone because, everyone's story is different. Everyone has suffered their own pains. And, if you love someone as much as someone else does, there shouldn't be issue unless they're like a straight asshole. But I think that's what I love about meeting people is I love to meet someone that is so passionate about their fandom, like whether it be Harry Potter or Star Trek. Like I love when someone's passionate about something. I think that really makes a person when they love their fandom enough that it's a part of their life.
In regards to all the things that you do, like I'm seeing on your website, you have your pinup illustration, your general illustration, and then some of your logo and graphic design. How do you sort of go about, any project that you're doing, whether it's something you're just doing for yourself or you're doing for a client or somebody that wants to commission something for you? Sort of, what goes through your head when figuring stuff out?
Well, everything always starts with brainstorming and sketching and coming up with ideas. Paper and pencil, old school. I just draw it out till I figure it out. And, I think that's the biggest thing is drawing. I think that's the beginning process is really drawing, getting your thumbnails clear, and then moving on to a finished product after that.
How important is it for you to, go through the sort of trial and error, the failures of everything to get to that finishing point?
It's really important. And also a huge thing that I don't think enough young artists have learned yet is that accidents in art happen. You can either learn from them and embrace them, or you can reject them. Failures will teach you more than a million successes will. You'll only learn by trial and error.
Is there anything that sticks out in your mind where at first it was a mistake, a failure, and then you realize, yo, that was dope, and then it led to something different, something like really successful for you?
I actually think it was my development of the current style I've been drawing in. Though I really love, like I said, all sorts of different art time period pieces. Like when I started my my bachelor's degree, I was really heavily into Art Nouveau, and I drew in that style for a very long period. And I had a project where I tried something different. I did something super graphic and super flat, and everyone loved it. And it really pissed me off that everyone liked something that was so easy and brainless for me to do. It just annoyed me. But then I kept thinking about it. I'm like, maybe this is what I'm good at. Maybe I should stick with this. Maybe they have a point. So it's really like, you put a very little thought or energy into it, but others like it so much. I think that's like a weird sort of feeling, which most artists can have, where they put zero energy into something and everyone loves it, but something they spend days to weeks to months on gets very little attention and they get frustrated about it.
Right. Yeah, a lot of people, I think it's just like a general consensus that you should like struggle and go through pain, whether it's for art or exercising or whatever, that you just should always go through this sort of painful painstaking, tiring process to really be doing whatever you're supposed to be doing. But when sometimes it I guess it should be simple to you, or there's a less complicated way to get to that. So I think, I think that's just a thing that a lot of us just have programmed in our mind. Felice Herrig, she was talking about there was this time she's on a bit of a losing streak, and so she decided to kind of change things up, and she was talking with someone, and they were basically saying, the way you're thinking, the way you're going about this, you're only using at the most 50% of your potential. And what she was thinking at the time was that she needs to like be training until she's dead tired, and really, like, to be in that sort of position, she needs to be like in pain and going through all sorts of strife during her training. When this person was like, no, you need to think smarter. And once she started thinking in a better way and training in this better way, she started getting on a winning streak. And I feel like just in artists in general and people in general sort of think that way. They think in the wrong way about going through their art. They think they have to almost be punished.
Yeah, and I think that comes back to, like, artists are always perfectionists, and we expect ourselves to do way more than what we're capable of. Like, there's always that level of expectation that can never be met in our minds, I feel. Comes back to anyone that is very passionate and cares a lot about what they do.
How do you sort of, like, deal with the emotional, costs of doing a piece of artwork? You were kind of mentioning that, earlier, where, you have the expenses like paint and time and all that. But how do you sort of deal with the emotional costs of that?
I try to deal with it the best I can. I'm lucky that I have really supportive friends like Liana and my fiance are very, supportive of me, of what I love and what I'm trying to do. Because a lot of people don't understand, and it really is not easy because there's a huge financial barrier. Because, again, coming back to what I was saying before, is depending on where you live, it might not be an artist-friendly area, and you might not be making a stable, like, living amount.
Yeah.
So I think part of the struggle is just being afraid of what people will say. I've had very nasty people come up to my art and laugh at my face because I told them the price of a painting. Like, people can be heartless not even knowing about it. They wouldn't even think they're being an asshole, but, it happens all the time where I've had, I was at the Trenton Punk Rock Flea Market selling, and someone pointed to one of my pieces at my table and said, everything else sucks except this. And who says that to an artist? Like, honestly.
Yeah, who says that? What the...
Like, I was crying the rest of the day. I'm like, I'm a failure. But it's, it's the struggle. It's just keeping yourself emotionally and mentally happy. And I really do get a lot of happiness out of painting. I think that my just paper on brush makes me happy just doing it. The mixing, the smell of the paint, mixing the colors. It's very soothing and relaxing versus, like, digital artwork for me is very stressful, and I don't like doing it at all. I'm capable of doing it. I can do it well, but it's not what makes me happy. And
for anybody, oh damn, I'm looking outside and it's like thunder and raining and everything.
Well, same here.
It's like super hot this weekend. We're like going to be in the 90s all weekend.
I think New York is hitting over 100 today.
Right, we're probably around, looking crazy outside. But for anybody listening to this interview, like, doesn't matter what sort of avenue of artistry that they're in, what's sort of a nugget of knowledge from your life that anybody listening to this could sort of project into their own life?
Don't devalue yourself. You have value in what you do. Don't let anyone say less of you.
What's what's the future got in store for you? Is there anything that you're working on right now? Anything that you want to talk about?
So I'm working on a couple of things. I've been dabbling in comics a little bit more. I don't know if I can officially announce this, but I was brought onto the Guar comic, and I've
Sweet.
been doing some assisting on that.
Guar rules.
I fucking love Guar. I've seen them like 15 times.
I've seen them a few times, and I interviewed a couple of the guys on the Warp Tour last year.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I love them. Me and Liana have been seeing them since high school. They're just always been a fun band, and I just somehow saw them so many times, and it is what it is. But I'm also working on Forgotten Home, which is this awesome little indie comic that has the first issue is out, I believe. It's really great. I'm working with a lot of amazing artists on it right now.
Okay.
And should be working on a Romero story coming up for an anthology.
Okay.
So a little bit zombie action from me coming up.
Cool. Who are some of your favorite bands and music artists?
Well, my favorite band is Queens of the Stone Age.
All right.
I've been in a really weird place right now where I've been listening. I go through little phases where I get super into a genre of music and I just go ham listening to it.
Same.
Right now, I'm in my new wave era.
Okay.
First wave. So I've been listening to a lot of 80s music. I've become super into Duran Duran recently.
All right.
But I'm all over the place. I like a little bit of everything. I can only say what I really dislike, which is kind of country, modern country, not classic country, and indie. I do not like modern indie at all.
Right.
I can't do it. Like, it's just I don't know what happened. It all sounds the same to me.
Right. I understand that, man. I get so many promos for that, and I'm like, oh, this is sounding the same, and I don't know.
I'm trying to pinpoint, like, coming back to, like, I love Reverend Horton Heat, Coffin Cats, Necromantics, Satan's Pilgrims. I love surf rock, too. I'm super into surf rock, all over the place. And metal, too, and punk. Too much stuff.
Right. What's your favorite sort of, when it comes to movies, what type of movies do you like the most? And, what were some of your favorites?
Oh, the worst question. So, my favorite genre would be horror.
Okay.
My all-time favorite horror movie would have to be The Exorcist. I think it's a classic. I think it's up there. It still holds on its own, and it will always hold on its own because it's just such an incredible movie.
Yeah.
But then, I'm a huge John Carpenter fan, so of course I love Halloween, The Thing. Big Trouble in Little China is also up there with one of my top 5 all-time all-genre movies. Big Trouble in Little China is up there.
I love that movie.
It is so amazing. It's up there in my top 5 of all genres. But I really do love horror a lot and sci-fi too. Can't go wrong with a classic sci-fi.
If you were ever to what's your sort of dream project? What's something that you would just like to be a part of?
So this is really, I feel like I'm at a place in my life where I really don't know what direction I'm going with my art.
Right.
So there's a lot of weird growing, but I would love to be doing more poster and event flyering, the whole Viva Las Vegas, Tiki Oasis, Viva East, Ohana on the Lake, Tiki Con. A lot of these pinup community culture sort of events has a full branding for the event. And I've done event brandings for a small event that took place in Pennsylvania 2 years called Retrofest.
Okay.
And I would love to be doing more event flyers. Like that's what I would love to do, is more event flyers, more branding for companies in the retro community, and possibly maybe some textiles.
Right, yeah, those are all, yeah, those sort of like concert event posters are always cool when somebody like does something special for that. You know, it's always a special thing to see, you know. And a lot of people, a lot of events are really good at that.
Yeah, and I commend a lot of events for getting amazing artists to do incredible designs, but also there's nothing more depressing when I go to something and they have bad shirt designs or bad flyer designs, or
Ugh.
their poster for the event is just horrible. Like, it kind of like, I expect a little bit more.
Yeah.
I think that comes back to one time I saw Primus out in Brooklyn, and they had the worst event poster imaginable, and they were selling it for $40. It wasn't silk screened, because I collect printed posters. I'm a huge Mondo fan, so we have Mondo posters and silk screen posters all over our apartment. But they were charging $40 for like a digital printed poster, and I'm like, Primus, I love you, but what is this?
Whack. That's whack.
Wow. There's nothing better than when bands have incredible tour posters, especially hand-printed ones. I think it's a novelty that not enough bands have anymore. I have a huge collection. Like, there's nothing above me, sadly. Or we're in the middle of moving, so our last apartment had crazy amounts of wall space, so we were able to put everything up. And we're having a problem with our current apartment because it's so old. They built the walls are built with oak wood.
Oh.
And oak wood is so strong you can barely even hammer a nail into it.
Wow.
So we have probably a good like 20 to 30 posters that aren't even hung, that are in their frames. Like, we have tubes filled with more and more stuff that's still not framed, and we just I don't know what we're gonna do with all of our art.
Right. Yeah, back in the day, like the concert posters were always really dope. Like, here in Detroit, there's a famous artist, Mark Arminsky, that did a lot of the stuff for pretty much everybody back in the day, for all of our concert venues, and his shit is amazing.
Yeah, I mean, there's like Coop and Rise Cooper. Like, there's so many amazing like poster artists out there, and I don't want more t-shirts. I want more band posters. I want show posters. I think that a lot of bands, like, they should have, it costs about the same amount as getting t-shirts made. Honestly, I don't know why more bands don't do it. I'm lucky enough to have some amazing Queens of Stone Age posters, Andrew WK, Gwar, Nanner Asherman, Murder by Death. Like, I could keep going on of like all the different posters we have from bands that consistently pay artists to make posters. And I think that's what I love about it most, is that an artist is being paid to make this incredible piece of work that you get to hang on your wall.
Is there a favorite one that you own?
Well, my favorite poster we own is, I have a 1982 Return of the Jedi poster from the movie theater that my aunt took down in the 80s, and she gave it to me.
Nice.
That's my favorite, of course. It's the Luke holding his lightsaber up in like the blank background.
Yeah.
That's my all-time favorite poster I have. But my actual favorite one, which is printed, is by Brian Reedy? Yes. He is a block printing artist based out of South Florida. He hand carves wood blocks, and he block prints everything. It's this amazing They Live poster of like all the characters in a cityscape. It's incredible. And it's printed on rice paper. It's amazing. That definitely has to be my favorite one. Not just because it's an amazing poster, but when I bought it, the people selling it at the horror movie convention actually had it damaged. And I went to a convention, and I met Brian, and I talked to him, and he's like, "What? It was damaged? Give me your address. I'll send you one brand new." And I was like, "Really?" So he sent me a brand new poster, not damaged, because I was honest with him about them selling his posters damaged. And I've never had that sort of kindness from, like, this is not a cheap poster, by the way. So
Right.
I super appreciate that as an artist and also as a collector, that he was that nice about it.
Oh, nice, nice. That's great. Cool. I always like to end my interviews with with the same question, and the question is, who is somebody that you would recommend for this podcast that would have some great stories or lessons to talk about?
I would like to recommend my photographer friend, Sven. Sven Photography. He's based out of Portland, Oregon. I've shot with him as a pinup. So he's incredible to work with, not only because he's super kind, caring, and respectful while shooting, but he's just has a beautiful eye for photography. And I've shot with a lot of photographers, and he's by far my favorite just because of the way he captures me. I think it's incredible, and I think he would have a lot of amazing stories to tell just from talking to him and being friends with him. I think his life story speaks uh, speaks huge amounts to who he is as an artist now, and he's also just trying to do what he loves also, being a photographer, which is not easy. That's also not an easy job to have.
Is there, you kind of mentioned something in that in regards to being respectful as a photographer to you. Is there, still a problem with, photographers being, disrespectful to the women that they're shooting?
Yeah, I think that it is still prevalent. I have been very blessed and lucky, and I have had no issues ever with anyone ever being inappropriate with me. But I always made sure I knew who I was with. I had a friend with me or someone that could be there with me, especially if I was meeting this photographer for the first time. I think being safe about something is the most important thing. And a lot of photographers they want you to bring like a friend with them. They're okay with that. But I think it still happens. I haven't heard anyone it's happened to in a while, but I've heard stories. And shooting with people that are respectful and kind, I think, are a huge thing, because you can put yourself in very vulnerable positions, especially like if you're shooting in lingerie or naked.
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely. It's been great talking with you, Jackie. Super fun, where can people go online to get more information about what you're up to, and if there's anything else you want to plug at this time?
Well, you can really follow me on my Instagram. I'm pretty much on the gram all the time. So that's JLH_illustration. And I also update my website from time to time. It's a little overdue. And also, I am constantly updating my Etsy shop with new paintings and stuff. So I'm always working on little things here and there.
There's a lot of good stuff on
Instagram.
your. Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff on your Etsy.
Yeah, I actually have to update it like soon. I have like a giant pile of tiki paintings that didn't sell at the last event I did, but I know a couple people were eyeballing them, so they're going up soon.
I love this Monster Dame Club T-shirt.
Ah, yes. Yes. I want to eventually do more apparel. That would be the ultimate goal, is to get more apparel and more pins, but it's all very expensive.
Yeah, and then
Budgeting.
I like the Trash Return of the Living Dead.
Ugh, that's another good horror movie. Why did I even think of that? Like, I was on the spot. Return of the Living Dead, and oh man.
The Vampire Babe, Spooky.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, these are all great. I love so many of the things on your Etsy. So yeah, go to her Etsy. It's really dope. There's a lot of good stuff. She has a lot of good stuff on there. Definitely support.
Yeah.
Cool.
We need to eat somehow. Cats need to eat.
All right, great. It's been good talking with you.
Yeah, it's been awesome. Thank you so much for having me on here.
No problem. And stay cool in New Orleans. Watch out for all the crazy weather out there.
I'll just have to watch out for the gators.
Watch out for the gators, yeah. So that was my interview with Jackie Von Spanks. Links to where you can follow her and check out her Selling for Introverts show on YouTube will be in the links for this episode at freshtothepodcast.com. I want to thank you all for listening. And big news, this is going to be the premiere week on the Fresh of the Word Enterprises. This week, I have two new podcasts dropping. First is the Breaking Records podcast. That's my all-encompassing music podcast. In the first episode, my guest will be Dia Frampton, one half of the pop duo Meg and Dia. They recently put out an album right out of the blue, and we talk about that, and just announced that they'll have a Christmas album coming out soon. And I got a great lineup of other guests in the pipeline for Breaking Records, including bands like Infected Rain, Dearly Beloved, Fit for an Autopsy, The Soul Rebels, Chicago footwork artist Traxman, Larissa Stupar from the band Venom Prism, and so much more in the works. So go to freshtothepodcast.com for more information about how you can subscribe to Breaking Records. It'll be on all the streaming platforms. It's already up on Spotify and Apple Podcasts for you to subscribe, but it should be everywhere else very soon. Then also, it is the premiere of my Detroit music podcast, Renaissance Soul. I'm bringing that name back. To anybody that knows me, that was my Detroit hip-hop music website from back in the 2000s. Started in 2001 as a J Dilla website. Then I expanded to all Detroit hip-hop and then some other Detroit music. But we're bringing that name back as more of a historical Detroit hip-hop podcast. Basically going to be a bi-weekly podcast when we pick a topic from Detroit hip-hop. It could be like an album, a single, an era, a spot, a record label, whatever. And we break down that topic with that artist in particular or somebody that was there at the time. First episode is going to be with Detroit hip-hop artist Big Tone, talking about his recently released album Big Shoes that was produced by House Shoes. So we go into the whole album, and there's a lot of Detroit hip-hop history spoken during that interview. That will be coming later this week, and also you can go get more information at freshthepodcast.com about that, and it will be up on all streaming platforms, especially Apple Podcasts and Spotify. So a lot of things in the works. Please share everything that you can. I'm also up on Patreon at patreon.com/freshastheword. I just uploaded some archived interviews from 2014 and 2015 with Violent J from ICP, Shaggy Two Dope from ICP, Black Milk, and Frank Nitty from Frank and Dank talking about the making of J Dilla's Fuck the Police. So I have so much content coming on these days. And on the freshtothepodcast.com website, I'm going to be doing much more non-podcast content like the mini reviews and music premieres. I have a few up already right now. So please just go to freshtothepodcast.com and share anything that you need. You can also follow me particularly on my socials, and it'll get you anywhere. I'm on Twitter and Instagram at KFreshIsTheWord. And another good place to get more information is on Facebook at our Facebook group at facebook.com/groups/freshistheword. All right, I know that's a lot to take in. Just remember to go to freshtothepodcast.com. Thank you for your support. Goodbye and good night.
Fresh is the word.